Hello, people that watch File Free Tough Stuff. Today we are looking at Birdie because me and Brentley had a talk, and I'm doing commentary, Roblox, and Clash Royale, and Clash of Clans. Today we are looking at Birdie because we got backlash about Brentley drawing like them when he was doing his It's Raining Tacos video and YouTube Shorts. We are going to check out one of her videos, a little 24-second video. Then we're going to do some allegations, as you see at the bottom of the screen. Then we're going to talk about it, and then we're done. Let's skip to the beginning, because my phone's like this.
Or Lucifer. My pronouns are he, it. I'm 19. I'm aroused and gay. Ooh la la. My favorite colors are red, black, and yellow. I'm a demon kitty. I love rainbows and tacos and cats and randomness. I love scene and Decora K and emo, but that's pretty obvious, isn't it? I have evil autism. I love.
As we have seen, she has all the stuff she likes. Now we're going to go to the allegations.
I mentioned this in my previous video, and I like to heavily apologize for I was misinformed and misled in this specific segment. I stated that Cynthia was in the wrong for quote-unquote stealing his cat because she said it was for him. At that moment, I used gray areas in terms of morality rather than logic. It might not seem fair, but it doesn't matter if the cat was for Jack. You might not like that, but it isn't about fairness. It's about the legality of it. No matter how you look at it, it was still by law Cynthia's cat. Jack has proven time and time again he's too unstable to have an animal in his vicinity anyways. It's quite apparent he can't even care for himself, spiraling and breaking down several times in the past few months.
As she has said, I don't know, he or she, Jack breaks down a lot, and not my words, she said he breaks down a lot.
On the other hand, while not an amazing person, is way more stable to be taking care of an animal, despite all that's going on.
So, he's taking care of an animal, but he can't? It doesn't make any sense to me.
If you're considered homeless, you should probably not be carrying another form of life, especially considering Jack apparently barely took care of her properly before. Adding on to that, did I mention Jack ultimately lied about Stinny stealing his quote-unquote cat? Regardless if Stinny took it back, as I mentioned before, it is still legally her cat. That's out of the picture anyways, because it's actually...
Saying someone stole your cat for I think, fame? I think it is. I don't know if it is yet. I'm just pausing the video.
The other way around. Jack actually broke into Cynthia's house while she was at work.
Okay.
He stole it and then placed it with Queen/Izzy, Cynthia's
That is some crazy work. Stealing someone's cat.
Worker who refused to give it back to Cindy after asking repeatedly, using the excuse, "Oh, this is what she gets for doing this and that, and being an evil groomer." Which, correct me if I'm wrong, however, I don't think there's a law that says you're allowed to commit crimes against other people if they're a bad person or also committed crimes. I don't support Cynthia, but her video genuinely explains it ethically and truthfully. I would check it out for it. It does actually happen to show receipts and proof of Jack and his peers breaking into her residence and taking things that weren't legally theirs. This also means that Jack lied about the cat situation. As shown in these screenshots, he knew where Squirt was the entire breaking into her residence and taking things that weren't legally theirs. This also means that Jack lied about the cat situation. As shown in these screenshots,
as I said, she did lie. I just did it top of my head because the person she is.
Knew where Squirt was the entire time.
You can pause if you want to see all these.
And even nuanced individuals commented on the legality, which he lashed out at them and milked the, "Well, Cindy Bear is an abuser and I'm a rad lib ass bitch" excuse. At this point, I don't feel like the animals involved should be with any of these parties. It is not good for their mental health to call.
I agree that animals should be either given to your parents, if you still do, or given to a shelter if you can't take them. You shouldn't have them just live out in your kind of like house without you feeding them or you abusing them.
Recently home help without a perfect guarantee of being taken care of. It isn't their fault, and it sucks that they're placed into this situation. As far as I know, Squirt remains with Izzy.
Okay.
So, It's not inherently a problem that Jack has a not safe for work account, with him being an adult and all, and controversial, but it isn't particularly a call-outable offense for him to have apparent self-harm paraphilia, or even just general interest. It's about the people he lets into this account, and the things he says regarding.
Note, this is my video. This is not my video. This is not our drawing. This is videos are able to be remixed, so technically on copyright laws, we can use this.
This apparent interest of his. Regarding the content, it's not safe for work, so obviously there's topics such as porn, gore, and self-harm. Sometimes, even a mix of both. Jack does add a warning for this both within the art and the pinned tweets. Of course, making this content in general may be slightly concerning, but that's moreover an opinion.
Yes.
I do presume it simply falls under the sadomasochism umbrella, something he's been quite public with his interest about. I'm not saying go encourage people to self-harm, but it's quite apparent this is more of a struggle that we have no authority to try and fix. It's something that Jack has struggled with for years, and if he uses his art as an outlet for it, then
Jack should not be making excuses or making art and saying and diagnosing himself with anything that he can do. But it's diagnosing yourself, not anything
leave it
else.
be.
With that rhyme.
I don't think you should be yelling at Jack for engaging in or posting these type of things, as long as it's consensual between two adults and properly labeled as such. And certainly if it's not encouraging to get mental help regarding these kinks if you do comment on it. Again, I'm certain this is a paraphilia or addiction which only a therapist and the person alone can manage, and he stated he'd been working on a therapist with it. Though questionable to others, these communities have more than a right to exist, whether you think it's odd or not. Jack is still a very ill individual and he has a right to struggle with addictions. And projecting it onto fiction isn't bad or an evil thing to do. It's simply just self-expression. If he had a problem, then you should have blocked him. Again, he did add a long warning and he still even had spoilers on those posts. What we should actually be scolding him for is the people he lets into this account. I'm not going to call him a predator for this, however he has stated he only lets people with their age in their bio in this account, yet he has went against his own logic, letting in ageless accounts. Again, I'm not going to call him a predator for this. This is simply a complete lack of responsibility, and it's something he needs to be held accountable of. As far as I know, as of recently before he went dormant, he had another individual help filter out minors and ageless accounts, which is good, but I still find it important to bring up as Jack is in his 20s. It isn't his peers' job to filter out these things. It is still his fault if an ageless account or even a minor gets in. Regarding what he'd said about his interest in self-harm, as I've stated before, him being sexually involved or even just addicted to this is his own concern. However, he's given very harmful advice to people who are dealing with the same thing.
Giving harmful advice to other people that dealing with the same thing is crazy, because you're not helping people what you have. You had something you needed help with, and if someone told you the wrong thing to do, that would be horrible. And if Jack was the same person he was, I think when he was like 15, he would not be doing this.
Like I said before, if you're going to engage in these things and post it, you should still be mindful of who you let in the account.
Exactly.
Don't influence other people to do the same thing. As shown here, Jack was seen giving very harmful advice to another person dealing with this issue. Oh, and for the record, do not pick your scabs. It can cause scarring and infection, which can and will very painfully and slowly kill you. Ending this segment off, I think it's unsafe for Jack to be running an account like this given his mental state. It would have been much better had he only let friends, peers, and mutuals who are verified adults into the account, simply to avoid conflict until he can manage himself better and so that he can keep children safe. That's basically all I have to say for this.
We're gonna end after this part.
In September of 2020, Jack admitted to attempting to sexually abuse his pet ferret, as seen here. This screen.
You can pause right where it happened. You can read that. I'm not reading it for me because this video will get age restricted. But to what's it called? Say any animal, you shouldn't be like harassing or hurting any of your animals. But
Screenshot
But
resurfaced and as
Jack does, and I don't like that about him. So, move on.
expected, he received tons of backlash, as this is, in retrospect, zoophilic behavior. What you don't realize, though, is the reasoning behind this. Now, put your pitchfork down and let me explain. Jack's parents bought him this ferret as they just simply wanted to have a pet ferret. In their eyes, it's like asking for a dog or a hamster. At the time, they didn't realize that taking care of a ferret would be so much hard work, so oftentimes, Chara was in fact neglected. Her environment wasn't stable, her cage wasn't big enough, her diet was poor, and due to that fact, her fur even turned white. It may have been Jack's pet, however, did his parents not supply the resources for this ferret? Did they not buy the stuff for it? Did they not leave this historically aggressive child alone with a very complex animal to take care of? If you agree with all of these, we should be somewhat blaming his parents in this aspect. You don't just...
I would blame his parents because they didn't give him the right materials. But I blame Jack and his parents because both him and his parents he didn't tell his parents that he needed something, and his parents didn't even give anything, even when he didn't say anything. So I think it's both their faults.
throw something this big of a responsibility at your knowingly unstable child simply because they asked. You are the guardian. If something were to happen to Chara mentally or diet-wise, it is both the parent and the child's fault. If an irresponsible parent
Exactly what I said.
allows an even more irresponsible child to commit heinous and nasty acts such as these, nobody is left out. Both need to take action regardless of how the brain is wired, because it certainly isn't wired that way forever. As we can see, Jack has ended up to be a very disturbed individual with events such as these that's followed him into adulthood to shape him into the way he is currently. Had action been taken before or even now appropriately, it would have been much different. Back to the sexual abuse. At the time of him attempting to perform this act, he was 13 years old. This is the age of a 7th grader for reference, a child in pre-algebra. I am absolutely not defending what Jack did. Without a doubt, it was extremely disgusting and on the surface seemed purposely malicious. But diving a little further, this was still a very impressionable child who was being exploited. We're dealing with an unstable middle schooler who has obviously dealt with heavy sexual abuse and hypersexuality in his life. And think that
Exactly. I forgot what she said. I gotta go back.
malicious. But diving a little further, this was still a very impressionable child who was being exploited. We're dealing with an unstable middle schooler who has obviously dealt with heavy sexual abuse and hypersexuality in his life.
Yes, that is like every kid nowadays. Like from 5th grade to 8th grade. That's every kid that's been in public school and not homeschooled.
Think that racism is ethical. Think about that. By the way, I don't care if, quote-unquote, when you were 13, you would automatically realize this is wrong, because what you would do does not matter. Traumatized or not, you're not Jack. People's brains do, in fact, work differently, and they are hardwired to believe different things. Again, this isn't to say just because your brain isn't developed, you can't do wrong, because you absolutely can, and you should absolutely face consequences. The point is, if there's been an obvious change of perspective in the future, it doesn't completely redefine them for the rest of their life. Adding on, if you're blaming him for being manipulated, I don't think you understand what exactly manipulation is. In psychology, manipulation is defined as an action designed to influence or control another person.
Exactly.
Usually in an underhanded or unfair manner which facilitates one's personal aims. Manipulation is a tactic to induce submission, and sometimes this can cause you to do deplorable acts you may not have recognized the severity of. Again, does this mean I'm defending his actions? No, but it most certainly gives you insight as to why you shouldn't completely dogpile and insult him. Rather, hold him extremely accountable. You can also see the clear guilt and remorse after admitting to doing this. Unless you have a paraphilia, your brain is automatically hardwired to recognize when the action you're doing is normal, whether that be through children, animals, or corpses, in this case being an animal. With that being said, Jack is not a zoophile. For those saying, well, he lied about it, I do agree that he kept fluctuating between I almost did it, I tried to do it, and I did do it, but then again, this was extremely confidential information. Nobody would want this to get out, which is why he tended to fluctuate in personal messages.
That's all I have for today about Birdie. Go check out the actual video if you want to see more. That's all for Leitin. See you later.